Welcome back to another Post-Media Ottawa Senators panel. I'm Bruce Garrioch, pleased to be joined today by Ken Warren and Post-Media National Hockey writer Michael Traikos from Toronto. And guys, let's start with the Senators' goaltending. As we speak, they're coming off a 5-3 loss to the New York Islanders, and Philip Gustafsson, Ken, wasn't very good. Matt Murray is in the minors right now working on his game, and Anton Forsberg has emerged as the number one here. I don't think any of this would have been scripted coming into the season.
No, not at all. I did think Forsberg was going to be a decent backup. I thought that was a good signing. It was a bridge, right, to see what would happen next with Gustafsson. But, of course, they're counting on Matt Murray being a number one goalie and winning games for a young team. And that, of course, rehash the history. It hasn't happened. The issue for me right now is Matt Murray isn't even – the schedule down in Belleville, he's played one game, and he's been down there for a week and a half. I mean, he's got to get some games in, first of all. Gustafsson, maybe, is there an excuse that he hadn't played in a while? He wasn't very good. So right now it is going to be Forsberg's net, it looks like, to try to get this team into some mode of competitive in the standings, right?
Michael, I think you covered a lot of those Pittsburgh teams and Matt Murray. You know his game pretty well. Why do you think it has fallen off so badly?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bruce. Matt Murray was part of the book I wrote on the next ones, which was kind of tracing the origin stories of some of the brightest young stars. And at the time, Matt Murray was coming off 2 Stanley Cups, looked like the kind of guy who just had ice water running through his veins. And I don't have an answer. You can maybe blame confidence and the whole snowball effect where when things go bad, they really go bad for him. But yeah, when you're looking at the Ottawa Senators' problems, it really starts in net. If you don't have good goaltending, and I was looking at their shots against right now, and the teams below them who've allowed more shots, a lot of them are non-playoff teams. The ones that are, like Anaheim and Toronto, are just getting great goaltending, and I think it all starts from there. So when Matt Murray's not your number one, and it has a huge trickle-down effect, where now you're relying more on Gustafsson, more on the other goaltenders. And if you're the Ottawa Senators, I don't know where you really go from here. You hope you've got a guy, I guess, in Matt Sogard that can be the goalie of the future, but there's a lot of goalie of the futures. They need a goalie for the present.
Yeah. And as we speak, Ken, I mean, Levi Merlainen was named to the Finnish World Junior team. He's coming in net, but they can't wait for that day. They really need one of these guys to step up right now. But I think one of the areas, guys, where they could improve is, and you said it starts in the net, Michaels, is their defensive play. They just have not been very good in their own end. I think that Nikita Zaitsev's start was surprising to them because he was so bad. He seems to have come around here in the month of December, but until they improve in their own end, Michael, the play is not going to improve consistently, is it?
No, and there's a reason why they rely on Thomas Chabot for so many minutes. And you look at the minutes he's playing, and I feel for the kid because I know we're going to be talking about Olympic team and whether he deserves a spot or not. And honestly, when you're looking at Chabot, you're going, geez, do you want to thrust this guy into an Olympic position where he's just getting hammered all year? Is that the kind of guy that you want playing for Team Canada? But it really isn't his fault. He's just really the only guy they seem to have a lot of confidence in right now. And it's a difficult spot. Like I feel for Ottawa fans where you're having to watch this team and you're going, geez, offensively, they've got a ton of firepower. They've got a lot of talent, but when the goals are going in and you're always chasing a game from behind, it's demoralizing.
And, a couple of things for you, Ken, maybe you could comment on is, number one, there's been some discussion, obviously, about maybe sending Lassie Thompson down, and that may happen here in the next couple of days. But go ahead on that, and then I've got another small thing for you.
Well, Lassie Thompson at this point, I mean, they gave him a shot to play with Chabot a little bit and to play some big minutes. They go on that losing streak. Let's face it, they're not making the playoffs here. And if he's losing ice time because he's struggling a little bit in his own end, you're not helping him. I mean, Hetherington's up here. I don't think that's a long-term solution. But you're putting a more veteran guy in a situation where this team is going to struggle and not make the playoffs. So that's a better situation. You send Lassie Thompson back and let him play his 20 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever he plays down there. Because I was talking to a veteran defenseman last week and said, look, if you look at that Senators defense, they have one number one defenseman and 4 or 5 number 6s. Now, I think that might be selling Zub a bit short, but let's face it, they got to find a middle ground in there, right? They've got to get some players in there that take some of the pressure off of Chabot for sure.
One of the things we seem to hear, guys, and you know this player as well too, Michael, is that Jake Sanderson is going to solve things when he comes out of UND, the 5th overall pick in the 2020 draft,
right.
Pardon me. And the guy's going to a dominant force. Excited to see him at the World Juniors, but guys, both you chime in here. Is that a lot of pressure to put on one guy?
100%. Like you look at, you don't want to follow the Sabres model. Let's put it that way, where you're rushing guys in and saying, this guy's going to be our savior, this guy's going to be our savior, this is going to be the fix. If you're relying on a teenager or even a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old to be your quote-unquote fix, then you've got a lot of problems to fix before that even happens. So, yeah, Jake Sanderson looks like a heck of a prospect. I'm really excited to see him again this coming winter. But, you know, ideally, you want that guy pounding down the door and saying, you know what, you have 6 guys that are maybe ranked above me. I'm going to push my way onto the team versus, hey, we're holding the juicy spot for you on the top pair or amongst the top 4. It's not a way that you turn the franchise around. So, yeah, that's when you hear that, it sends warning signals in my brain. I'm like, no, don't do this. This is not going to be the right move.
Well, Kenny, it almost sounds a little dangerous, right?
Well, it's a tough one here for Senators fans. Like they've heard patience, to wait for the next wave, right? And they're getting it up front. We just talked about, Batherson and Norris, fantastic, and of course Tkachuk, if you look back 3-4 years ago, and that's happened. But there was some patience there, so you need more patience back there, and to throw. Maybe in some respects, Eric Brandstrom was in that category when he arrived, and say this guy's the next great thing. Well, there's time and there's things that happen, and you have to wait for these guys. I'm sure Sanderson will get a look here at the end of this year and get his dip his toe into it, but that doesn't mean he's ready for the NHL and playing top 4 minutes immediately. Let's
stick with defense here and talk a little bit about. We brought it up earlier. Thomas Chabot. If the NHL goes to the Olympics, Bobby Ryan kind of released his list the other day, and he had Thomas Chabot on it. Now that may be a teammate thing, but do you guys think that Thomas Chabot should be part of the Olympic mix in their top 6? Starting with you, Michael.
Yeah. Okay. So working in Thomas Chabot's favor is he plays on the left side, and when you look at the projected roster for Canada, that left side of the defense is still very much a question mark. Aside from maybe Shea Theodore, who I'd consider a top pairing lock to be playing with his defense partner, and Alex Pietrangelo, who's already been named to the team, I think it's really wide open. I think there's a spot there for Darnell Nurse when he gets healthy. And then it comes down to, do you like Morgan Rielly? Do you like Thomas Chabot? I've heard Mackenzie Weegar's name out of Florida just because of how well he and Aaron Ekblad play together. But if you're going with that righty-lefty, let's keep the guys who've been playing on their side of the ice going forward in the Olympics, then it looks like Chabot should be there, whether he's on your top 6 on defense or he's your extra guy. But with, like I said, with the amount of minutes he's logging, he's played at the World Juniors, he starred there, he's played twice at the World Championships. This is a guy that I think is going to be in Team Canada's fold for many, many years to come.
I think he should be on the team. Like I at the start of the year, I had my doubts. I didn't think he had a great year last year, and some of it maybe too much pressure, too much ice time, his own end was the issue for me. And then maybe trying to do too much to offset all the struggles the team was having. But this year, the offensive gifts, Like, it's incredible how he can break out of his own zone in that stride. It's incredible. It's like Makar, right? These guys are just phenomenal in their skating ability. But I've also liked his defensive play, and maybe you don't notice as much to get the puck out. He just seems to have found something to get better position in his own end in the last few weeks anyway. And I think that's made a big difference in seeing more of him at the other end of the ice. So I think he should be on the Canadian team right now.
And last discussion I wanted to have was just regarding Drake Batherson. I think that Brady Tkachuk in the last 4 or 5 games has been the club's best player, but I do believe that Drake Batherson through the first quarter of the season has been the most consistent player. If the Canadian Olympic management team had a do-over, would Drake Batherson be in the 50-person list that they put out? Guys, Ken, let's start with you.
Good. I'm on the fence on this one. I think he's had a fantastic year, and I think he's outstanding. I just do you lean on a bit more? I know he's had World Junior experience. Do you lean maybe on a couple of veterans in that environment that have maybe been there in those pressure packed situations? But that takes nothing away from his year. I just think that maybe in a big time Olympic experience, maybe want somebody who's been there before. And I don't know whether he would immediately be thrust into a power play situation, which is where he's so dynamic on that power play, right? Moving the puck around. He's sort of the if Chabot's the quarterback on the blue line, he's the quarterback down low. And I really love his game, but at this point, I'm thinking from a broader perspective, maybe experience is where Canada goes.
Michael?
Yeah, with Batherson, you don't just look at the wingers he would have to beat out to get on that top 50 list. It's centermen. And there's a lot of centers in Canada that would be playing on the wing or going to be playing on the wing at the Olympics. And, the one interesting thing is knowing what we know now, would Drake Batherson have a better chance at the American team? We know this guy was born in Indiana and granted, he played for the World Juniors for Canada. Maybe he shouldn't have, because right now I think only Troy Terry amongst right wingers, American-born right wingers, have scored more than Drake. So, if he was playing for the Team USA, 100% he should be on that team. But with Canada, Nazem Kadri wasn't even added to that list. And last time I checked, I think Kadri is top 5 in scoring, not just amongst Canadians, but overall in the NHL. So it's a tough team to make.
Okay, real quick from both of you, we've seen general manager changes in Vancouver and Montreal in the last couple of weeks. Who's a bigger disappointment? I'm going with Montreal because of where they went last spring.
I'm going to go Vancouver, Bruce. Sorry, Ken. I'm going to jump in here. I'm definitely going Vancouver just because I didn't think Montreal was going to be for real. When you're missing Carey Price to start the season, you're without Shea Theodore. With Vancouver, they loaded up in the summer. This should have been the year where they really took that step. I thought for sure they were going to challenge for the Pacific lead. What's gone on there is beyond disappointing. Not surprising that all the changes have been made.
I thought Montreal, like you, Mike, I thought they were a bit of a patchwork. You're grabbing guys here and there. The Mike Hoffman signing, you weren't sure about your goaltending, like you said. The defense was a question mark because of Weber not being there. Vancouver, and this is maybe a bit of a thing that Ottawa Senators fans should be, because they built that team through the draft. They did the right thing. Going back, if you go back 6, 7, 8, 9 years, all those guys coming in, and then, like you said, Mike, they loaded up to try to build around that, making some moves. That to me, that's a real disappointment, because where do you go now? Those young kids are now making the money that. That's how you build up. Like Ottawa's gonna have to get through in the next couple of years. Vancouver to me is a real disappointment. I don't know if it's coaching, I don't know if it's management, but something just didn't happen there.
Well, I appreciate your time today, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Senators panel. For Post Media in Ottawa with National Hockey writer Michael Traikos and Ken Warren in Ottawa, I'm Bruce Garrioch.